Zimbabwe's constitutional amendment number 3 bill is now just one step away from becoming law. After months of heated debate, political disagreements, and intense public discussion, Parliament is preparing for what could be the final chapter in one of Zimbabwe's most controversial legislative processes in recent years. This Tuesday, members of the National Assembly are expected to reconvene for an extraordinary sitting to consider amendments proposed by the Senate. If approved, the bill will be sent directly to President Emmerson Mnangagwa for presidential assent. For supporters, this represents the successful conclusion of an important constitutional reform process. For critics, it marks the beginning of an entirely new legal and political battle. The nation is now watching closely because what happens next could shape Zimbabwe's constitutional landscape for years to come. Before we continue, please subscribe, like this video, and turn on notifications for more Zimbabwe political news and analysis. Let's get into it. Zimbabwe's parliament is preparing to conclude its work on constitutional amendment No. 3 after months of discussion in both the National Assembly and the Senate. According to Parliament, the National Assembly has been summoned for an extraordinary sitting to consider 6 amendments introduced by the Senate after the upper house approved the bill with the support of 75 senators. Although the parliamentary process is approaching its conclusion, the national debate surrounding the bill remains as intense as ever. Supporters describe the legislation as a necessary constitutional reform that strengthens governance and improves the functioning of key state institutions. Critics continue raising concerns about several provisions contained in the bill, arguing that constitutional amendments deserve the highest level of public scrutiny because of their long-term impact on the country. Clerk of Parliament Kennedy Chokuda has explained that Tuesday's sitting is intended to ensure both houses of Parliament approve exactly the same version of the legislation. Under Zimbabwe's legislative procedures, any amendments introduced by the Senate must be considered by the National Assembly before the bill can proceed further. According to parliamentary officials, the 6 amendments are largely technical and consequential in nature. Most are designed to refine wording and improve consistency throughout the legislation rather than introduce major policy changes. Among the more substantive amendments is the proposed transfer of certain responsibilities from the National Peace and Reconciliation Commission to the Zimbabwe Human Rights Commission. Another amendment concerns the procedure governing Parliament's first sitting following the election of a president. Supporters argue these adjustments improve administrative efficiency and institutional clarity. Others believe every constitutional change deserves careful public examination, regardless of whether it appears technical or administrative. Constitutional Amendment No. 3 was originally gazetted with 22 clauses earlier this year. Following deliberations in both houses of Parliament, amendments have increased the legislation to 26 clauses. This demonstrates that parliamentary debate has continued shaping the bill throughout the legislative process. Supporters say this reflects Parliament performing its constitutional duty by refining legislation before it becomes law. If the National Assembly approves the Senate's amendments, the parliamentary phase will officially conclude. The bill will then be transmitted to President Emmerson Mnangagwa, who will decide whether to grant presidential assent. Once assented to, the bill would become law. That moment would represent the end of the legislative process, but may also mark the beginning of new legal, constitutional, and political discussions. Outside Parliament, Constitutional Amendment number 3 continues generating strong reactions from across Zimbabwe's political spectrum. Government officials have consistently maintained that the bill has followed constitutional procedures through debate, amendment and voting in both houses. Supporters argue Parliament has exercised its constitutional mandate and that elected representatives have fulfilled their democratic responsibilities. Opposition parties, legal experts, civil society organizations, and constitutional commentators continue expressing differing opinions. Some have questioned aspects of the bill's content. Others have focused on constitutional interpretation and possible legal implications. Several civic groups have indicated they will continue examining available legal avenues once Parliament completes its work. This means debate surrounding the bill is unlikely to end simply because Parliament has voted. Political analysts observe that constitutional amendments often generate lasting discussion because constitutions provide the framework through which governments operate. Changes affecting constitutional institutions naturally receive greater public attention than ordinary legislation. For this reason, the conversation surrounding constitutional amendment No. 3 extends well beyond Parliament itself. It has become a broader national discussion about governance, democratic institutions, constitutional interpretation, and Zimbabwe's future. Many ordinary Zimbabweans are also following developments closely. While constitutional matters can appear highly technical, citizens often ask practical questions. How will these changes affect everyday life? Will they improve governance? Will they strengthen public institutions? Will they contribute to economic development and national stability? Ultimately, these are the questions many people hope their leaders will continue addressing. Whatever one's political perspective, one fact is becoming increasingly clear. Zimbabwe is approaching a significant constitutional milestone. Within days, Parliament may complete one of its most closely watched legislative processes in recent years. Whether viewed as an important reform or a controversial constitutional change, Constitutional Amendment Number 3 has already secured its place as one of the defining political issues of 2026. Attention will now shift from parliamentary debate to the next constitutional stage as Zimbabwe awaits the president's decision on assent. The outcome will not end public discussion. Instead, it is likely to open a new chapter in Zimbabwe's ongoing constitutional journey. Do you believe Parliament has completed a thorough constitutional review process, or should major constitutional amendments always involve broader public consultation before becoming law? Share your thoughts respectfully in the comments below. If you enjoyed this report, please subscribe, like this video, and turn on notifications for more Zimbabwe political news and analysis. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next report.